Yo, it is Thursday. This is Reverse Polarity. It's me, your boy, High Five Vega, joined as always by the man who never sleeps, the Clean Wire King, the uh, the guy that does car audio. What's up, Dean?
Okay, it was just like, let's just keep going. I mean,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like
Well, see,
Star Wars.
I had Clean Wire
Uh,
King, and then after that, I was like, I ran out.
yeah, it's good. I mean, it just run out of steam.
Yeah.
Speaking of clean wire, uh, so we had a visitor this week, which is really cool. You remember Tsunami?
Hmm.
Like, like that was a big deal. That was like Metra's premium brand,
Yeah.
and then through time and everything, it's just kind of like,
Fell
T
to the
Spec
wayside.
became real popular and whatnot, and they kind of let Tsunami just kind of fade away. Well, guess what?
He's coming back.
It's coming back,
Nice.
and it's purpose built power wire and RCAs and speaker wire. So they've taken what they've learned over the years, and it's really cool. So we got a whole bunch of samples, which was really neat, and you're gonna love this. So it's pre-tech flex wire.
Nice.
So it's just all done. It comes in this braided black and red Tech Flex, so it doesn't matter. It's just 4 gauge.
Yeah.
So you buy a box of 50 feet. This is what's cool. You buy a box of 50 feet. It's got a pull. You can pull it out. Inside the box is a bag of ring terminals, ferrules, and heat shrink. 40 in the box. So they guessed at how, because it's 50 feet. So
Right.
and it color doesn't mean anything because it's both red and black Tech Flex, so it's just 4 gauge, which is
Right.
great, right? Um, so it just comes with a bag of parts. That way, if you need, if you get it's 50 feet, so you could get two cars out of it basically, and it
Right.
comes with enough to do two cars. But there's like in there again, we'll dig deep into it. But the speed wire comes tech flexed, and it comes with all the little all the little shrink wrap pieces, left front, right front, all that crap
Oh,
is
damn.
all in the box. The little power kits, come the same way, comes with all the bullshit, and it's all pre-tech flexed, and it's like the whole wire is tech flexed, not just the 3 feet that's going to be in the engine bay, which is stupid.
Right.
I've always thought that was dumb.
Me too.
Um, but no, so and then the distribution blocks are like tiny, man. Like no holds bar, like trimmed all the fat. There's no nonsense on it. It's just like this is like, oh man, it was in it. And so we got to see a preview of it at SEMA, and they were like, "Hey, Dean, come in the room, Fernando. All you guys
Yeah.
come. We want to show you this shit." And they showed it to me, and I was like, "Okay, is like, are you showing it to me because you want me to go like, wow, or are you showing it to me so you want me to be like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong?" And they're like, "Ah, yes, just
Little
let us
column
have
A,
it.
little column B.
Yeah, let us have it." So, what I'm excited about is they kept the Torx screws that are in the T spec. Like, I love those. I've just like now when I have to find an Allen key, I'm like, really, come on, no.
Yeah.
So all Torx screws, which are great. It's some pretty stuff. So, but that was neat. So we got a bunch of that. So we'll be doing some more videos on their power wire, and I just think it's cool. I mean, I was talking with a friend of ours that's like they build kits for cars, Sage, and he's like, they buy Tech Flex and they put it on their wire, and they're like, he's like, bro, we have so much scrap that we just throw away because it's too short.
Yeah.
And he's like, so they're finally going to just buy wire pre-tech flexed, and it's like, yeah, it saves so much time.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, it's a pain. People that
yeah,
haven't done long runs of Tech Flex on like a short run, a 5 foot run, no problem with Tech Flex.
yeah,
A 15 foot to 20 foot run, problems.
yeah,
It's a pain
yeah.
in the butt.
Well, another thing too is if you don't have the right size tech flex, because if you're trying to put too small of a tech flex on a thicker wire, like if you're
Yeah.
trying to put half inch on a 20 foot or 20 foot run of 0 gauge, like, man,
It's
pack a
tough.
lunch, you're gonna be there forever.
Yeah.
And you're gonna use twice as much because it's stretching out.
Yeah.
And we know this because we do that in our class. We actually have 2 6-foot runs of zero gauge and 2 runs of tech flex that cover the same amount of wire, but the half inch is way longer. And that's the challenge. We're like, all right, 2 of you goofballs come up here and go. And they got to sit there and try it. It's like, the guy with the 3/4 tech flex always gets through. Like, he's like, done.
Yeah.
And the half inch guy's still over there going, "Ugh,
Yeah, because
ugh."
and sometimes it'll crinkle up and twist on you on the longer
Oh, yeah.
runs
If
with
it
the half
rolls in the
inch.
end,
Yeah, it's like,
oh,
God
it's the worst.
damn.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
son of a bitch. Oh, well. But so, anyways, that was cool. I
Yeah.
know everyone likes that kind of stuff. We had another visitor this week, but that was under NDA, so we can't talk about that
Oh, damn.
one. Yeah,
No.
that'll be next month. We can talk about it next month.
But
So,
I love accessories. I miss like there was kind of a heyday in the late 90s to
mhm.
early aughts where Streetwires was doing high end stuff. Monster Cable back in the day was doing pretty high end stuff. You had TIFF. Um,
Yeah. Oh,
you
Tiff
had,
Harmon. That was a Harmon company.
yeah,
Yeah.
TIFF was my personal favorite, but
Yeah.
Phoenix Gold done a bunch of high end wire
Yeah.
stuff. Rockford Fosgate had like Gamma series, the White Wolf. They had some cool distribution blocks. Like
So, did you finally see the video of the amp rack I built?
no, I still didn't. It's lost on. Is it on YouTube or is it
Oh, it's
on
on
Insta?
Instagram.
It's
It's
on
just on
Insta.
Instagram.
Yeah.
But so it was funny because they sent me is all Rockford stuff. Part of the pitch is if you buy their power wire kit with their punch and power, you can get an extended warranty if
Right.
you have it installed. And so they sent me the kit, and it's a 2 amp kit, so it comes with like 8 gauge and 4 gauge, which I just used all the 4 gauge and I added some 0 gauge anyways. But it comes with these 2 distribution blocks, and I was like, the whole time I'm struggling. Like, oh, it's just for display. It's
Hmm.
it's it's like that was it. It's just a prop. It's gonna sit in somebody's office. It's just gonna look cool. And but what was killing me was the distribution blocks because it was like one of them needs to be a fuse holder. And so I was so close to just switching them out with Stinger Select because Auto Mob, who was the company I was building it for, they also rep Stinger. So it was
Right.
like it's a fair exchange. But I was also like, crap, Rockford knows they sent me this stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, damn it. So I ended up using them. And then when they walked up to take a look at it, the first thing the Rockford guys go, "Oh, you're using our 2 distribution blocks with no fuse holder." And I
It's like,
go,
God, I
and
hate you.
in my head, I was like, these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And because they know, they know that it's wrong, but they haven't changed the wires yet. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and I looked at it, I said, I was going to change that. And they're like, no, it's okay. This is, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I mean, it looked great. Don't get me wrong, but it was just in my head. It was, and there again, it's never ever going to do anything other than just look.
So somewhere you should have hidden on there like hashtag Team No Fuse.
Yeah, no,
It's an Easter egg. Like,
yeah, team no fuse, big
yeah.
3, no fuse. Yeah, so the T spec or the wire will, I think, is, if it's not available now, it will be in the next 30 days. So
Have you seen those little jigs that help you put on Tech Flex?
yeah, they suck.
Do
You
they?
want some?
I haven't used it, but I was thinking like if they had assuming one of those worked, if they had it on the box, like where you're pulling the wire through all in
Oh
one.
yeah,
That,
yeah. Just kind of marries them together.
yeah.
No, I have all those, and I've still yet I'm clearly too stupid for them. So these are
I
dumb.
seen them, but I was like,
Yeah, stupid.
yeah.
But anyways, so there you go. So that's something new that's going to be coming. I'm pretty excited about that. I like it anytime any manufacturer takes interest in showing us stuff like that and sharing it and wanting us to share it with you guys. So like it's a win.
Yeah, for sure.
So
What people don't pay much attention to, like there used to be all these big companies paying attention to accessories and wire, and now it's just kind of dwindled down to you got like Stinger. You've got T-Spec, and then you've got a bunch of other companies that come along since,
Yeah, the
mid
Void.
2000s, like Sky
Yeah,
High, New Concepts.
yeah. All the Void pieces that are just buying a rack of shit from China and going. The days of designing a distribution block are. And there again, not saying that these guys are doing it either. I mean, for all we
Right,
know,
right.
they're just going, "Oh, I like that. Thanks, I'll buy
Yeah.
that." Because I think last week I talked about that new block that's coming out from Memphis. Did I tell you about that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, and that's literally a direct clone, though they did some news, changed it a little bit of the T-Spec block. So it's like, all right, well, they either just took, shipped these two things, and those guys said, "Oh, well, Han over there makes those. Let's just get him to give us these, and we'll make this other crap." And he'll be like, "Oh, that's cool," you know.
Yeah.
Uh, oh wow, there we go. Stu's Customs. Dean, if you had your choice of any DSP currently available to do a truck with 7 channels, what would you choose? So I'm a big fan of amp and sub combination, or amp and DSP all in one. Like standalone DSPs for me are not like, hey, let's get this DS. I don't like that. I like solutions that I don't have as many boxes.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite DSP amps right now, but they don't make a standalone DSP of it, is the new Audison Forza series amplifiers. The DSP that's in that is some next level shit. If I had to buy but if you're like, no, you have to buy a standalone DSP, I'd probably buy an Aerospace. That
Oh,
would
are they
be,
actually good now? Like the old, I use like the first gen, and I really
yeah,
didn't care
no,
for
no,
them
no,
better. Yeah.
no, no. No, I would buy an Aerospace in a minute. Like and I have one, so
Yeah.
I don't have to. But if I was gonna go out and buy a DSP, now keep in mind, Forza for the win. Yeah, the new Forza, and there again, it's one of those concepts that is awesome because it's like they have one DSP and they have multiple amplifiers, and it's built off of a 14 channel DSP. So when you buy the 12 channel amplifier, it's a 12 to 14. When you buy the 8 channel, I believe it's an 8 to 12. When you buy the 5 channel, I think it's a 5 to 12. And the reason why they do that is, for one, expansion, and two, they make companion amplifiers. So they make a 6, a 4, and a mono block, which are similar sizes to
Yeah.
those. In that way, if you buy a yeah, yeah,
He's
that
just
one.
trying to get you
Yeah,
going.
yeah. No, buy that one 100%. I mean, let's just, yeah,
uh,
screw it. But so what's cool is that these DSP amps now are 100% expandable, and they have decent power, and they make two sizes. So they make two 8 channels, a big one and a small one. So if
right.
you buy the small one, it still has a 12 channel DSP. And let's say you use the 8 channel as a 6 channel, so you do tweeter, mid, and then bridge. You still have, 6 DSP channel output. So you could buy a mono block, and you could buy the 4 channel, and you can still do like a center and active rear, or center and rear and sub.
Right.
Um, so there again, I really like playing with those amplifiers right now. Um, but like I said, if I had to buy a DSP, now what I was going to say is the Aerospace is not my first DSP. Okay, it's not a beginner's DSP by
Right.
any stretch of the imagination. Another cool DSP would probably be the ARC PS Pro. The new one that we just got in, the 6 to 8,
Right.
with iData capability. So here's the funny part. Here's So it's the PSM Pro, little tiny guy, and I'm like, dude, I'm talking to Brian. I said, these are the same harnesses that come on the DSR-1, right? He goes, yes. And I go, oh, you did? And he goes, yes, we did. I said, you made them the exact same harnesses so that they can literally just unplug the DSR-1, plug in the
Swap,
PSM
hot
Pro,
swap them.
and you're rocking and rolling. And now you have the ARC software. He goes, exactly. I go, oh, that's
That
King Douchey move. I love
that's
that.
a move right there.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the Big Daddy. That's the PS8. So the
Hey.
new one is the PSM, which is like this big.
Yeah, let's see if I can find. I wonder. Do you think it's on the? Oh,
It's
here it
that one.
is.
That one,
No.
right? PSM. Yeah, so
Ooh.
it's smaller than a pack of cigarettes if you smoke, but it's
So
tiny. Yeah.
this can be run standalone. It doesn't have to
Yes.
be run with a.
It could be it's just like a DSR1. So it could be
Okay.
standalone, it could be AR. It's USB-C. And like, so what's really cool, and this is what I've been doing, everyone I've showed it to that's been coming in. Yeah, it's got same DSP as the Blackbird. The USB-C is a 90, so it's made to just be left in there if you want to leave it in there. But
Yeah.
dude, when you plug this thing in, you can literally take it and do this with it. I don't recommend it. I didn't
I
put it
did.
in
I seen you do it on video, hanging
Yeah.
it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't try it at home. But so those would be two, like, you know, fun. I think the software on this is probably a little bit easier than the software on the Gladen Moscone,
Right.
but there
What?
again,
So
there's
what would you recommend? Like, say a beginner wants to get a DSP
audio control,
audio control.
hands down. Get an audio control. You'll be up and playing with that thing in no time flat. You'll be up and sounding good that fast. You know, it's super easy to use software. It's very intuitive. Yeah, there's software, and that was by design. Like, they looked at all the other guys' stuff, and they
Yeah.
were like, we want to sell to more people. So we want it very upfront, very simple. Everything is on one page. There's no hidden menus. Um, it's very simple to use. So from that, it's like, yeah, that's definitely a more basic DSP to wrap your head around. It's not basic, it's a heavy
Right.
hitter, but now that they just added in the beta, they added the parametric, which honestly, that's all we ever use now, because it's like, oh god, I love parametric because I don't have to work as hard. That's the only reason why I like it. But
Yeah.
there again, if you don't know how to tune and you have some form of an RTA that you can look at the full, a slide standard EQ is pretty easy to use. Parametric takes a lot more thought behind it, because it's level, it's frequency, and it's Q.
Right.
And Q freaks people out. Like, I've tried to explain Q to people, and they just look at you and you're like, "What? What are you
I mean,
talking
they could,
about?"
if you just look, you can see it. It brings them all up and down. But I
Yeah,
guess,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's like, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Uh, you know, a variable Q is kind of nice too if you if your amplifier, if your DSP doesn't have a high or low shelf. Variable Q is in the right place can
yeah.
really make things better.
Do you want to hear about my DSP horror story from the
Of
weekend?
course.
So I've got the JBL installed, but I didn't have any time to do any tuning. So I have about an hour before we go out to dinner. Like, okay, I'm gonna try to get just a bass tune, just make sure my crossover's right, set the levels, do a slight amount of EQing. So I run my pink noise, I get my kind of average, and I know where I want to make changes. Go in there, start making changes, do some level adjustments, play pink noise, same thing. Back and forth, get it all set up, and I went to save, but instead of saving, I clicked another preset. So it switched to that preset, which is nothing. And then when I switch back, JBL does not have autosave. So that whole hour, I was, God. Have you seen like the? I'm trying to
Yeah.
think of the meme.
No, I
The,
know
the
the feeling.
I was like, Mike, I just
Yeah,
I
you'll
felt
never
like
get that
grabbing the
back.
laptop and just like throwing it out the
No,
window.
no.
I'm like,
You just this hole in your chest opens up, and you're just like, I could have just stood here. Yeah. Oh no, it
exactly.
happened. Oh,
Yeah,
trust me. That's when you just go, I'll be back. Where are you
that's
going?
exactly what I
I
did.
just need to walk around for a little bit and kind of. I mean, the nice thing is that you kind of remember what you did, but
Right.
but when you're like, and we'll get to the topic because it's a good topic. The jack, tap into the front speakers, buy an amp that has a good high level input, and you'll be fine. So, but your front two speakers are the speakers you want. Don't tap into the rear; they're not subwoofers. The front doors are on Chrysler. But if you're just adding subs, just get a good amp with a high level to low level built into it, and you'll be okay. You don't need anything special. So my workflow is anytime I do something, like if I adjust the driver speaker, I save. I adjust the passenger speaker, I save. Unless I know like that it's only going to take me like X amount of time, then I'll save in pairs. So it's like anytime I get anything done, save.
Yeah.
And there's usually, and this is something you got. There's usually two places you have to save it to. There's save the file to the computer, and then there's back it up into the unit, because some units you're working and it's making all the changes, but it hasn't cooked it into the DSP yet. Like
Right.
Audison is totally like that. Now, some processors are now these guys are getting smarter. So like the new Forza stuff, as soon as the car, let's say you have a stop start car, the car shuts off, doesn't matter. The laptop is keeping that part of the not the sound, but it's keeping
Right.
that part of the basically it becomes the remote turn on. Okay, so it's keeping the amplifier on. It's telling the amp to, because you have battery power hooked up to it, so it's
Right.
smart enough to know, hey, the
Remember
remote
this.
the
Yeah.
remote just shut off, disregard it, keep it going so that
Yeah.
you can continue to play with it. I mean, obviously you want to go turn the car back on, but it's not going to recognize that as a problem. Helix has the running timeline happening in the background. The new feature in audio control is that when it senses it shutting off, it automatically asks you, hey, do you want to save this?
Yeah.
So it knows to back it up. It won't just wipe it out. So they're getting better at, DSR1 is still the wild west of woohoo, fuck you, buddy.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like the JBL and all the basic software. So like
Right.
the JBL still uses that basic Chinese software that everybody else uses. They just put a really nice flavor on it. They'll tell you no, but it's like it looks a lot like it.
Yeah.
It's like no, it's okay. It's good stuff. It's good software, but it's also basic as shit. But there's nothing wrong with that because I can make a car sound good with it. So,
Yeah. I
but
was telling this story to my buddy, over chat, and he's like, "Dude," he's like, "You have," he's like, "Every time you make a move, save, move, save, move." Like, yeah, well, lesson learned. Luckily, I only had an hour before we
yeah,
left, so I wasn't super deep in it. It's like an hour, but
yeah, see,
still,
yeah, I would be pissed because that would mean I have to start from scratch because I was done. I was done. It was all it was getting from me, and I would have been done. I'd have been like, and I blame myself though. See, but I would never. That's a rookie move. I would never do that because
yeah,
I've been burned way too many times.
yeah,
And even if it does it now, or like I just lose like the mid range tune, I'm like, God damn it, motherfucker! Fernando's over there giggling.
it's not fun.
Mm-mm.
So I got to go in there and mess with it again this weekend.
Yeah. See, I would have just been like, we can't go anywhere for the next half hour. I have to start over.
I have to get this back. Yeah.
I have to get this back when I'm still thinking about it.
Well, luckily I had saved like all my crossover and level adjustments were saved because I had saved at that point.
Right.
But all the EQing and I hadn't even gotten a time alignment at that point. It was gone. So, oh well.
Christian, you're going to want the newer one. You've seen the software, man. You know that. But don't get me wrong. They're both. Come on. You know yourself, man. You want to sell that. You want to get the new one. But don't do it for like 6 more months because they're still hard to come by. So, yeah. But yeah, the new one's really cool. But there again, I still love the old one. We just did one last the F8.9. We just put
Yeah.
one in that F150 we did this week. That was, and that thing's just a workhorse. But
Yeah. The Audison, like the bit. What's the last one? I guess the last one I played with was the bit 10, and it was a current revision. It was pretty solid. I mean, it's better than the ones that I played with before.
the bit 10, the bit 1, the bit HD, the bit
Yeah.
Virtuoso, fuck all those. Yeah, the Nove is built off of the Prima software, which is what Christian has, and then the new Forza software is just that's it. That's their new hotness. It's got all the bells and whistles. I personally feel it's better than the Virtuoso software.
Yeah.
That's to me super limited. But the Virtuoso is eventually just going to go away anyways, and there will be something to replace it that uses, because they've already announced that this is the software. All the last 15 years that it's taken to get to this point, this is where we want to be. So we're finally where we want to be. We're done. We don't have, we've figured it out. So and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, which this kind of rolls into how much power is too much power. So when you're looking at all these guys, these amplifiers are this big.
Yep.
It's like 8 by 90. I'll take that any day over,
Right. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
250 by 4.
Or like the big Rockford T 1504 that's like
Oh
one of
no,
the
no, I
better
still want
multi-speakers.
that. Screw that. I still want that.
Yeah.
No,
You
no,
want
no.
it. You just don't want it in your car,
I'm
right?
not putting it in a car.
Yeah,
I just
exactly. You
want
just
it.
want it, like me.
Yeah, it's that. Yeah, yeah. Do you know what a DSP benefit me? I'm running KS 3.5 coaxials in the dash, KS 6x9 coaxials in the front doors, rear doors on a JP 900.5. My head unit has time alignment. So the real problem, Bobby, is would it help? Yes. If you knew how to set it up, yes, it would definitely help. But where it would really help is if you broke it out and you had like a 7-channel amplifier. So if you had a 2-channel amplifier to run the 3.5s, and then two of the channels to run the door speakers, two to run the rear, and one to run the sub. It's not that you can't run it like that, but where it really shines and where you'd really notice the difference is being able to isolate those 3.5s from the 6x9s, because especially in the RAM, like being able to control those two speakers independently, like a lot of the times if we're doing a 5-channel RAM, the rear speakers are getting powered off the radio and turned down, because
Yeah.
I want the control between the dash speaker and the mid bass, just because I know I'm going to get better results from those. And then I can really work with those 3.5s and make those 3.5s like kick ass, as opposed to just like, and there's
Yeah.
more to a DSP than just time limit. But the thing is if you're not going to put the time into figuring out how to actually work the DSP, then no, you'll just have an expensive box that just looks cool. So
You can get the basics out of the head unit depending on what you're trying to do.
yeah.
It'll have probably a 13-band EQ. Yeah.
I mean, we still, anytime we do a head unit that like they're in, like anytime my clients come in and we do a head unit, it still gets the U-test mic, and
Yeah.
we'll still screw with every button in there and EQ it and see where the hot spots are and turn stuff down and turn stuff up. And because there again, yes, the head units have a huge amount of processing power in it. It's almost silly not to use them. Um, and there again, it's just a different thought process using a head unit's sound package as opposed to using a full-on DSP. But both of them, you need to like for example with a head unit, if you've maxed out your head unit's potential, like you've done everything you can with that head unit, and you have understand, like you're like, I've used an RTA, I've time aligned this, and you're still going, I think it could be better. Then yeah, DSP. But there again, now you have a whole bunch more that you have to play with. So
Yeah. In that situation, so if you have 6x9 coaxials and 3.5s, typically I bypass the coaxials on the 6x9s. What do you usually do?
well, I would just not sell them a coaxial to begin with, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't
Yeah.
have to worry about it. you know.
Sometimes it's hard to. Well, not nowadays. It's not. But back in the day, it was hard to find a
Well, they didn't make them back
mid-range
then.
6x9.
Yeah, they'll make it, but now they do. So I
Yeah.
mean, I have several different pairs of them. But if not, I one of two things: I can either snip the tweeter or I can bandpass it.
Yeah.
So, but I like, if that's there again, that all comes down to discussion with the customer. So if they, if that's what we're trying to achieve, then fine. I still want the control, but we're not worrying about time alignment at that point. We're more worried about how loud can we get this bitch.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Hey,
so
I need face
it's a
melting
different,
action.
yeah.
That's what.
No, I get the 200 by 4, 900 by 1, but you still can't control the speakers. So
hmm
I mean, I know what the JP does. Everyone makes a point of saying, "Look how big this amp is and how much power it has, and it's only this price." Yay!
Yeah,
Great.
plenty of power.
Um,
But I wonder if his head unit has level control, or you just gonna have to control it with the gain. I guess would be the way
what?
because
I mean,
200 watt,
I
200
mean, at
watts is
200 watts, Jesus Christ, what gain?
that's what I'm
Let's
saying.
pick
You
it.
you're gonna be no gain, and then if you don't have level control in the head unit, you might be in some
Well,
trouble.
if it's got time, I mean, if it's a Pioneer or a Kenwood, it's got level control.
Right. And it
Pioneer,
probably
Kenwood,
is.
Diggy
That's the only
Snakes.
ones that come out
Yeah,
anymore. A
yeah.
few Alpines, yeah.
Alpine, no.
They
Alpine
don't.
has level control, but it's channel. It's all left. It's all front, all rear.
Ah,
Don't even get me started on that. Ugh. You need two JP 95s, one for left, one for right. Yeah, let's just kill the battery in the car because we know
yeah.
those are efficient amplifiers. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's a lot of power.
That's way a lot of power. And there
That's like
again,
4,000 watts basically, or something.
yeah, it's too much. I mean, the reality is, okay, like I get it. I get it, man. Power's cheap, all that nonsense. But no, man. Give me these new small amplifiers, man. Oh my god, like they're killing it. They're
Oh yeah,
killing it. You know. I don't. I mean, don't get me wrong. Hey, if you're trying to, crack your windshield, then that's a whole different guy.
right.
You know.
And this one, so I do that the VXI, the 8 channel 8x100. I kind of want it, the JL. Have you played with it? Uh-oh, that's not good news.
No, no. Hey, it's a fine amplifier. Great
Yeah.
software, fine amplifier. I hate the plug. The printer cable on it sucks. It's the dumbest thing ever. You know.
I haven't even researched
Oh,
that
the
further.
RCA's on it are ridiculous. If you're running a Toshlink into it, spectacular. But if you got
Yeah.
to run RCA's, dude, it's got this printer cable with these eight RCA's that come off of it that all terminate at the same length. It's like, where the hell do I put this? I mean, it's literally even got the screws. Like it's old school, like freaking. Oh God, what were you
So it's
guys thinking?
a real printer cable.
Yeah, yeah, it's like a real printer cable. Like not,
That's funny.
yeah. And there again, no, don't get me wrong. Great amplifier, love it. We've done a bunch of them for people, and I always
Yeah.
have the same problem. Where the hell am I going to hide this? This is stupid. Um, you want there again? We talked about the Forza amplifiers. Forza kick its ass every day of the week. Totally bigger DSP.
How
You know.
much more price range is that? Because
Oh,
the
they're both
VXI is around
expensive.
1800 or
Yeah, yeah,
1900.
they're all
Yeah.
expensive. I mean,
Yeah.
all those amplifiers that have 8 channel DSPs. I mean, if you want the best 8 channel DSP amplifier, if you want the best one, if you're like, I'm gonna drop the mic best 8 channel DSP, it's a Moscone Pro 830. Period. End of story. You're not gonna find anything better that's had a DSP built into it. That will kick the shit. There won't be anything. There's nothing. There's nothing out there that has a DSP built into it that sounds as good and performs as well as that amplifier. Plain and simple. And if you're just
Yeah.
going to argue with me about it and say, "Oh yeah, no, you've never heard one," I know you haven't because they just come out, and there's not enough people out there that have them to be like, "I've heard it." You
What are
know,
those? Oh, those are probably like $3,500
fuck no,
if I
they're
had to
like
guess.
$4,500.
4,500. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's worth every fucking penny if you're nuts.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's like the Moscone amps. They've been good since they made amps for Boston Acoustics back in the days.
Mm,
Like, did you ever see those? Yeah, the
no,
big
I
Boston
mean,
acoustic amps. Those were Moscone's.
yes, of course I've seen them, but I didn't,
Yeah.
do Ryan or die.
Oh yeah. That is
Yeah.
Derek's. He's been putting up polls on his community tab about like what amp people like over the other. Dude, Orion freaking wiped the floor, and he had some. I'm trying to think what all brands he had up there, but he had like Soundstream, maybe a Rockford Fosgate amp. And it was actually shocking to me. I was surprised that people still had that much respect or love for Orion. And I
Dude,
think that particular poll got like probably like 6,000 votes, whereas the other ones got roughly 2 or 3,000, something like that.
yeah, no, and there again, like you got three great lines at your store. So that's, Moscone, JL, Focal, and like, dude, listen, I love the JL stuff. Doesn't
Yeah.
mean if it's a great amp. There's no question about it. I mean, I have the Tune, the Max. Woo. If I ever get time to freaking play with it, but I have one. We're not a JL dealer, but I still have one.
Yeah, play with it. That's
Moscone now has,
$4,000 right there.
yeah,
It's-
it's like 22 or some
yeah.
23. And now Moscone has Barney,
Oh, the ears, the head
the
with
head.
the ears.
Yeah, the Barney head. So we're actually going to Orlando Knowledge Fest. We're going to be there with Orca, so we'll
Yeah.
be there with them. So which is exciting because we've been literally trying for the last 3 shows, been trying to do something with them. But we've been obviously with other people, and we've just been so busy. It's like, and they were like, "Come on!" I said, "All right, well, I'll tell you what. I know how we solve this. We just go to Knowledge Fest with you guys, and then we'll have nowhere else to be." And they're like, "Oh yeah, it's a great idea." So I was like, "All right, cool."
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
So,
So yep.
all right, to our topic, which is how
Yes.
much power is too power? Too much power. So, me personally, I want a minimum of 50 watts per channel. That's the low side. It's actually what I'm at now. Preferably 100 watts per channel. You don't need 100 watts for your tweeters, but I like to have, it. They don't come in staggered power. So I want 100 watts for the mid range or the mid bass. That's mainly what I want the 100 watts for. I can live with 75 watts. That's a good balance. This is all mid range. For our
Yeah.
subs, I'm happy with anywhere from 500 watts to 1,000 watts.
Yeah.
That's my range. Now, people do a lot more nowadays than they used to, but I'm pretty happy generally in that range. What do you think? Like for your customers or
I
for
mean,
you?
for me, it's like 70 watts is kind of the sweet spot.
Yeah.
But there again, it depends on, like, man, they're like, for example, I had this kid come in today, and somebody fucked up his high country. I mean, it was like, God, really? Or his King Ranch. I'm sorry, they fucked up his King Ranch. I'm like, dude, you let them fuck up your truck? Why? Like, let's. So we put together a bunch of different systems for him, and and I told him, I said, he's like, man, I don't know nothing. I've spent $700 and they fucked up my truck. What do I need to do? And I'm like, hey, man, all right. So here's the reality in all this. You know, you're gonna spend anywhere between $500 to $7,500 to get this to do what you want it to do, and that was. I always tell people, let's build the dream system. Let's build the dream system. That's just the dream system is a system that's just like right at the tip of the maximum amount of money you want to spend on this. Okay,
Yeah.
it's like it's like you might want to go $5,000, but 75 is like, okay. I mean, all right, give me another 3 months and I'll get that. You know what I mean? Um, and so we build that. We always design that system. That's my goal, is to design that system, because that system, I've listened to everything you've told me. I know what you want, and this is what's going to deliver on that. Like, there's going to be no question when we're done. You're boom, here you go. And so, it was putting together a 6-channel DSP, a sub, and everything fit the vehicle. It's like, it's not too much power, because I still want the vehicle to run and start and play. And so a lot of that gets considered. Now, if he shows up with 2 surfboards, like I got a 3K and I got a 1200 by 4, it's like, what are we gonna do with those? Like,
Yeah.
what are you building? It's 2 different thought processes though. Like, if a guy's like, I want to put 6 mids in each door, it's like, okay, then yeah, get that. But
Yeah,
for
she's just in the wrong shop for that
Yeah,
particular
yeah, yeah,
setup.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I know a guy. I'll refer him to somebody that'll
Right.
take care
Yeah.
of him for that. But for us, it's there again. I use a lot of 5 channels, but not for front, rear, and sub. My 5 channels are mid, tweet, and sub. And the rear is just whatever the hell wants. Like if we need a rear, great, we'll figure something out. But then I also like the 8-channel amplifier, because the 8-channel amplifier makes an awesome 6-channel amplifier with staggered
Unless it's
power.
the JBL and you can't bridge it.
Well, that one's well,
Yeah.
that's that with the side. Well, that's a
That's
toy.
why that's why it's only $400.
Yeah, it's a toy.
Yeah.
I mean, but I like, there again, if I can sell you an 8-channel, then wonderful, because I'll make it a 6-channel. I'll put double the power on the mid bass. Tweeter's half the power. The rear's half the power. It's like a perfect world. So, but it's weird. I don't know. When people come in and like, I need 2,000 watts on my subs, I'm like, what are you powering?
Yeah.
What are we doing? That's, if you come in and you're like, I'm putting 6.5s underneath my seat. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Like, totally makes sense. Like,
Right.
we'll do that, and we'll hide a giant amplifier somewhere in there. But then it's like, what are we powering? 210s. We don't
Yeah.
need 2,000 watts for 210s, man. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's not going to make them sound any better than just buying the right. I had a guy come in with that same scenario. Guy comes in, he's got all this giant shit um from Crescendo, and like he just went, it was all on sale, so he just bought a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
And I don't mean crap as the stuff is crap. I mean, he just had a ton of stuff, and I was like, okay, what's the plan here? He's like, I want to do this, I want to do that, and I'm like, where's all this going to go? And we're slowly but surely destroying his car as we're walking through this. And I said, can I show you something? Come inside. I said, see these 2 amplifiers right here? These little tiny, I said, I can install these 2 amplifiers in your car with the speakers that you have and kick the shit out of those big things that you have. And guess what? We don't have to destroy your new car at all. Period. Like, we can tuck these away. You'll never even know you have them. Does that make sense to you? And he's like, oh yeah. It's like, okay, so let's do that. And I don't care what you do with this other stuff, because you should never have bought it.
Yeah.
Fernando had this guy come to him last week, and he just had a goulash of equipment, because he's just been buying stuff. And he's like, I want to put this in my car. And Fernando just looked at it and goes, this car? He goes, yeah. He goes, it was a Honda Accord with the 10-channel factory amplifier in it. And Fernando goes, yeah, no, none of this stuff's going in this car. Like, none of this stuff, like that set of speakers, yeah, we could fit that. The rest of the stuff, no. I mean, like, no. Like,
Yeah.
it's
I,
like,
I always wonder the people that buy something specifically to get it installed. I don't get that. Now, if you have stuff that you've had for a while and you switch cars or whatever, and you don't want to transfer it over, understand that you're going to a shop.
yeah,
But if you're buying all this other stuff and you're not
no
like a
research at all.
do-it-yourself, and if you're not like a do-it-yourself person, and you're expecting someone else to install it, I just don't get it.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah.
like the guy had a Panamera, and somebody told him that he read online somewhere that the Helix 12-channel amplifier was the best amplifier. So he goes out and buys that. And then he buys a Gladen 500-watt amp. And then he buys some Morel speakers. Then he buys a Folk House Slub from Europe. And he just brings all this crap. And he's like, I want to do this. And I'm like, okay. My stuff is stuff. Everyone else is crap. George Carlin. Exactly. Yes. Thank you for reminding me of that. I know that one. That was good. But the thing is and he had our hands were tied, because he's like, I didn't want to do it. I'm like, I don't even want to do this, because like, I know, like, and he has all these preconceived ideas of how this stuff is going to work. And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. None of that. That's like, this isn't going there. That can't sit like that. This isn't. Oh no, you can't force the issue. It's like the guy that got all dick with me because he showed up with these 2 giant surfboards. He had a 2022 Jeep SUV, so Wagoneer, whatever the hell it is, one of those,
Yeah.
Cherokee, and it was beautiful. He's like, I just want you to screw this to the seat. I go, no, I'm not gonna screw that to your seat. I'm not gonna destroy your car for these crappy amplifiers. Like, no, like that's just dumb. We don't screw amps to the seats. Why not? Well, because for one, the amp weighs like 35 pounds.
Yeah.
Like, well, and it's like, well, just screw the seats together. I'm not gonna be part of your dumb idea. Okay. you know, well, I want you to do the wiring. I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't want to do the wiring because it's dumb. You
Yeah.
know, like no, I mean, your car can't even your car can't even power these amplifiers at all. Like you're not putting an alternator in there, and even if you did, like in a 2022, you're gonna put an alternator in that. Oh,
Yeah.
good
Well,
luck.
who makes it? First of all, who makes the alternator?
Oh, who knows?
Yeah. What are you gonna do? You're gonna have to take the other one off, get it rewound. But yeah, not a good situation.
Dude, trust me, I'm not changing nothing in a Dodge.
Yeah.
No, fuck that. Especially the truck. Oh my god.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. Old one, go to town. New one, no, man. I'm not touching that electric. Big three, no. No, not touching it. Because God only knows what's going to happen. It's going to go into like power save mode and launch 15 volts through the system and set the car on fire. And it's like, what happened? I don't know. You
Yeah.
know, it's like,
I haven't messed with any new vehicles like that, so I can't even imagine.
well, I mean, if you're looking at your battery and you look at the
Yeah.
negative, and there's like a post attached, and coming off it, you see a little black box.
Yeah.
So it's usually like silver on bottom, big piece of black stuff in the middle that's maybe an inch by 2 inches. And then on the other side of that is all your ground wires. Okay. And there's usually two wires going into that little black box. That's your amp clamp. Okay. So what
Yeah.
that's doing is that is monitoring what's going on in the car and telling the alternator what to do. Okay. So if you go on the wrong side of that,
You're bypassing it.
it doesn't see the system, so the car's
Does
like,
whatever.
why is the battery going dead? And it's so bad things are happening, and it's like, yeah, don't do that. Don't don't do that.
Yeah.
And then if you add like a big three to the other side of it, it's like, no, it's not. It's gonna try to and crazy shit can go on. There again, don't want to do it. Not my thing.
Yeah.
So I think people realize you need power to make power, but I think what the amplifier manufacturer doing is getting better at realizing people don't know how much power they need to make power.
Yeah.
So, if you look at like, if you look at like the Europeans, okay, because that's really who's doing it, and ARC, which is American, like the desire to get, and even the Japanese, they're getting smaller, more efficient products. Okay. That JBL amp you have is what, 35 by 8, 50 by
Yeah.
8.
Yeah. Yeah. 40 by 8. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's this little tiny thing. And that same, I mean, a kicker key, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
It's 90 by 4. Is it?
Yeah. 75. Or was it
Yeah, they
50?
keep changing
Something
it.
like that. Yeah.
So between 70 and 90,
Yeah.
and it's like this big, and you listen to it, and it's dynamic and it's powerful and it's screaming, and you're like, fuck, I don't need anything more than that. That's awesome.
Right.
But it's like, I need something bigger. So, okay, it's cool. If you're running a really expensive pair of speakers, $800-900 set of speakers, yeah, put them some power to them. A kicker key ain't gonna be the thing, but
Right.
most people ain't doing that.
Yeah.
But
It's just like especially if you're talking new cars, it's going to be different. You don't see huge bass systems in brand new cars.
well, yeah, like there again, when I look at like these better amplifiers, like the Forza,
Yeah.
it's stop start compatible. It's one of those things, and it's iData compatible. So it's like, yes, I can put it in a car and not have to worry about it. I can integrate into it. So, they have like 12. They can have up to like 12 channels of high level input.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. So I don't have to worry about that. It's Toslink or RCA, so that's cool. It's iData compatible. All right, that works too. So I can throw an AR in there if that's the thing. So it's stop start compatible. It's small in stature. It's powerful. And as long as I'm realistic about the speakers I put on it, then yeah, they're going to be overjoyed. You know,
Yeah.
but there again, if you're walking in going, I want some K2s or some new K2M profiles, then it's like, okay, well, you're going to need some balls. So let's look at some bigger amplifiers, you know,
Yeah.
or let's look at bridging some channels. Let's go with the 12 channel, and we'll shrink it down a little bit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's
So
that's the good thing about having, even if it's 50 watts by 12, when you bridge it now, you suddenly got 100 watts by 2 to
yeah.
whatever you're doing. So
So keep in mind too, like speaker power ratings. Like he's asking, can they really handle 200 watts per corner? Um, so keep in mind that like there's a lot that goes into that number that doesn't make any sense. All right. Like you are never going to put 120 watts to any tweeter on the face of the earth, or 50 watts for that matter. It's not going to happen. All right. Most tweeters handle about a watt. That's it. And there again, it's one of those common sense moments where you go, how does this little tiny tinsel lead handle 50 watts when I look at my mid range that handles 50 watts and it's huge? So something's
yeah.
going on there, right? There's definitely something happening. So, you know, it, with an RTA, you can kind of look at like the frequency response of what, but you need to look at the voltage that's actually coming out of the amplifier when it's playing at those frequencies. It's very low. And your tweeter's very efficient. So it doesn't need that. Doesn't need a
Yeah.
lot of power to get loud. And the sound isn't there. Like there's very that those bands aren't just like you know. It's not like a subwoofer. Subwoofer is big and heavy and it's got weight. We won't say slow because apparently that's not something you say on the internet right now.
I guess I stumbled across
Yeah,
that.
don't say slow bass.
Yeah.
But it's heavier, and it's got a big motor structure, and it's like a dump truck. It takes power to make the wheels spin. So,
Yeah.
but if you design a subwoofer that has a little smaller motor structure, and build it right, you can get really great sound out of smaller power handling woofers. You know, that's what turned me on to MB enclosures was he had this whole rant that he did about subwoofer efficiency. And he's like, when people, it was great because I was like, let him have it, bro. He was talking about, how power is cheap,
Yeah.
and how they're basically selling you a bullshit story because you go out and you buy fucking 2,000 watt amp for $250, whereas if you go buy 1,000 watt amp from one of these other guys, it's like 800, $900. It's like,
Yeah.
fuck you. I'm not. No, yeah, you really should rethink that. But then again, if you got a 2002 whatever, no, go for the bigger one. Who cares?
Yeah. It's efficiency is always a part of my systems when I'm thinking about it. I don't want a sub that's just a lot of the subs you could literally push on the cone and barely move them. I had some Soundcube eights, a pair of eights that I played with for over a month and they still weren't broken in. And it's just like, yeah, this is not the driver for me. I need like a compliant suspension when I'm looking at subs. I'm not
Man, it's
trying to
funny.
get the stiffest ones.
I was looking at what Christian was talking about, passive versus active. Um, One of the things I got to take a look at today, I wish I could talk about, but oh my god, it was so. It's going to be one of those things that people are just going to be like, oh, why, and then they're going to go like, oh, well, that's why.
Yeah,
It's like it's one of those things that as a retailer, I really wish somebody would make because it makes it's like the stupid button. Like every now and then, you just need the stupid button. It's like, ah, this is dumb. Ah, that works. You know,
yeah,
because in a perfect world, yes, we'd all go active everything. But the reality is, there's no perfect world. So passive is sometimes the answer.
yeah.
For whatever reason, it just happens. So,
I
pretty
think
cool.
for most people that if you're doing your own installing and you're not very used to, if you're not good at tuning or you haven't had much experience, passive is probably going to be a lot easier for you as a beginner to get sounding the way you want it to sound.
Well, yeah, 100%. I agree. And even for some shops that don't really get into it, it's like,
Yeah,
you know, I mean, I'm happy if a shop just sells somebody a set of components instead of a freaking coaxial and use
coax.
the factory tweeter. But I also understand how hard it is to mount a tweeter in some of these factory locations. A lot of people think just because there's a tweeter there, oh, goody. It took me to put the front stage in this F-150 because it was the Unleashed, so it had 3.5s in the dash and tweeters in the A pillars. Dude, that was 3.5 hours to put those four speakers in.
Damn.
Okay, 3.5 hours, put four speakers in because each, and I showed them on Instagram the mounts. It's like these spider leg, these three-legged mounts, and it all had to be molded and oh, it was a pain in the ass, but it's like 3.5 fucking hours, because it was a lot of work. Now, was there easy ways to do it? Oh, sure. You could just hack looted the shit, stuck it in there and call it a day. I
Yeah.
mean, but that's not how we roll. Um, and it's like, so yeah, I can understand why people don't always do that, but there again, passive. I hate it when something becomes a bad word
Yeah.
because people don't understand. You know?
It could go the opposite way too. Like when the DD1 came out, now everyone has to have their amp up to clipping.
Yeah.
It's like you don't
No,
need you don't need that,
no.
especially like on your tweeters, on your
No,
mids.
especially like on any part of it. Just turn it the
Right.
fuck down.
Yeah. It's
Don't look up.
like, bro, I only use the 10 dB overlap, so it's like -10, right?
Uh-uh. It's like +10, dumbass. No,
Yeah.
no. That was one of my funnest when we did that the educational thing, the fundamentals. It's
Yeah.
like, so here's just so you guys understand how this actually
I
works.
I'm glad you explained that because people truly did not understand it.
No, no. And
Yeah.
honestly, it's confusing. It
Yeah, it is.
Look, anytime you start talking negative, positive numbers, let's be honest. We all have nightmares of high school.
Yeah.
And it's like, Jesus Christ. You know, listen, anytime we have to think, it's just like, oh, this hurts. Oh my God. You know, yeah, it's, yeah, you know, but I hate it when, like, oh, passive, oh, they're bad. No, they're not. You know why they're not? Here's a funny one. Go to any high end home audio store, any one of them. Okay. Pick one. I don't care. They're going to have a really expensive pair of home audio speakers in the corner. They're going to cost more than your car. And guess what they have inside of them? Big fucking passive crossovers.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're going to sit there and go, that's bullshit. Fuck you.
Yeah.
It's not.
Until you see
Now,
how they design something like Nick,
yeah.
from Toys DIY, he done I think it's like a 38-minute video just explaining the basics of how to design a home cabinet crossover.
Oh, yeah. I'm not that guy.
And I was
No.
like, "Nope, I don't understand this."
No. Oh, dude,
Yeah,
trust me. When I bought my Morel cabinets back in the 90s, we immediately, because their crossovers sucked, like they were just built like shit. So
yeah,
we immediately called whoever, Madison or whatever the hell it was, and I was like, "Here are the drivers I have. Here's what I need as an ohm load in the end. Here's the crossover points that we want." And a bill and three big boxes showed up, and it was like, awesome, and they sound great.
yeah,
You got to know when to hire people to do shit.
yeah,
I don't necessarily need to know how to design a passive crossover. It's like I don't need to know that, but I need to know somebody that does because I'll just hire them and or go talk to them. You know, it's like having great friends are good resources. That's really what it is. And my phone rings. It's because somebody knows that I'm good at this, so they'll call and ask me that, and I'll return the favor when I have that question. You know.
right.
Funny story. I was talking. Jeff Smith stopped by today because he was in town, and we were talking, and they're one of their Phantoms. This guy we call Phantom Chris. Um, uh, He's out of Texas, and he has the Chrysler that we did the video on. It had the Audio Frog, audio control, and the high 10 in the dash. We did
Oh,
it
okay.
yeah, it was
I remember that one.
yeah. It's so he's thinking about competing. And so one of his dealers was like, "Oh man, you yeah, blah blah. It's so you're not gonna do." And I said, "Why didn't you just go? You do realize I work with Jeff Smith, right? And just drop the mic and walk out of the fucking place." I mean, let's be honest. I mean, okay, I know this guy. Like we work together. I mean, guess what? And he comes to Texas all the time. Hey Jeff,
Yeah.
can you help me tune my car? It's stupid.
Yeah.
It's just so dumb. Just
Yeah.
so dumb.
I did see a picture over the weekend. Cliff had
Yeah,
the
Clifton.
I know the Jeff Smith shirt on.
Yeah. Dude,
Yeah.
Jeff was walking through an airport and some guy had that fucking shirt on and he jumped across the fucking aisle and was like, "Oh my God." Yeah. It was like,
That's funny.
yeah, he was telling me he was in Texas. He was at Jay's Tent. That's the place we went to where Oscar works, where we all hung out with last year. And he went out to eat with Oscar and they came back from lunch and this guy was waiting to talk to Oscar and the two of them walk in and the guy goes, "Holy shit, you're Jeff Smith from Five Star."
That's funny.
I said, "Yeah." He's just like, yeah. He goes, "I was looking around like, what?" Yeah. When you do an active front stage at 20 F150, do you recommend removing the crossovers from the tweeters in mid-range if a DSP is involved in the build? Okay, so let's understand this. If you're doing a power per speaker, so tweeters on channel 1, mid bass is on channel 2, mid range is on channel, whatever. As long as there's one channel going to one speaker, I do not run passive crossovers because I have a DSP that's going to do a much better job. Okay.
Yeah.
If I have channel 1 and it's going off to my mid bass in my door and my tweeter, then yes, there has to be a passive crossover in there to separate the sound between those two speakers. So we've had plenty of pictures of both, where it's like JL just reposted our picture of one of the Mustangs this week. Fernando was like, "Dude, look at this." And there was just a row of passive crossovers in the back of it, and it's like, it had a DSP. It's like, yeah. So we had limited channels of amplifiers. We had way more speakers. So we used all the passive crossovers to accomplish that. We still had a DSP, so we still had to tune it because an EQ is an EQ, man.
Yeah,
it's still going to do its job. The nice thing about better passive cross, so this is the thing when we talk about passive crossovers, you buy a $129 set of speakers, it comes with some really janky passive crossovers. It's the bare minimum that speaker needs to do its job. You buy a more expensive set of speakers, dude. K2s still come with passive crossovers, okay? But there's switches and there's options inside of the crossovers that are there because of all that technology that they have in making home cabinets. Are they're using that in these. So like you have tweeter attenuation, you have in some cases phase, on axis, off axis. They have some weird names for it, but and then sometimes you'll have if it's a three-way, you have mid-range attenuation compared to tweeter attenuation. A lot of the times you can just deal with that with the crossover, but sometimes it's easier just to flick a switch and go, "Oh, yeah, that solved the problem." Sometimes that switch does magic, and if it's there, use it.
And then people get really confused when they see the +3, 0, -3. How is the passive adding? No, it's not, bro. It's not.
Oh, ooh, yeah, no, that's an interesting one, because sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. It's changing the resistance, which is getting more power from the amplifier and actually making it louder. It really depends on how that manufacturer made that crossover.
Yeah.
Is how, because dude, one day we were bored and I was like, "This is bullshit." Fuck. No, we started playing with like, "Oh, wait a minute." Like it's physically changing the ohm load of the tweeter. And so you're getting more power because your amplifiers, it could take it from like a 4 ohm load all the way up to like a 3.2 or a 2.8. So yeah, it's actually 3 dB louder because you've just changed the ohm load at the amplifier and it's fucking railing. So some of them passive crossovers can, like, they're not all created equal. And yeah, it's and sometimes it switches from like a like when it's a really in-depth crossover, like if you see, cap, coil, coil, cap, 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 coil, and you're like, what's all this shit in here? And then resistors, like sometimes it can literally change the crossover point. I mean, the slope from like a 12 to an 18. Sometimes it'll take it to a 6. So they're like, when you're making those adjustments, it's not just attenuation. Sometimes it's some real voodoo shit they're doing to do that, not just level.
Yeah, that's the high end crossovers for sure.
Oh yeah. No, but I mean, we were looking at basic ones too. But yeah. But like Rockford is 0. I think they go like 0, -2, -4, -6. There's a straight up just resistors, man. It's like it's just changing the ohm load, and it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. But yeah, it can get real fun. All right, that's it. We've gone long.
Yeah, check us out. We watched a movie about some bad stuff, guys. Bad stuff.
Bad stuff. Thanks, guys, for playing along tonight.
Yeah.
You guys are great. Have a nice night.
Yeah.